My name is Brad Grossman. I'm the CEO and founder of Zeitguide. Zeitguide means guide to the zeitgeist. Zeitgeist is a German word that means spirit of the times. And my job is to guide leaders through our constantly changing culture so that they are culturally relevant, they stay smart, they stay up to speed, and therefore ready for the future. And I've been doing this for 12 years. I've been working one-on-one with clients. I also produced a cultural almanac every year to kind of just distill the big leading edge issues that are shaping our world, shaping our culture, and shaping us as business leaders as well as citizens of the world. And Culture Class has been my product where anybody could join. And I host it once a week. And because of the situation that we're in right now, I feel that I can, use this opportunity to help us all go through these challenges. We're all staying at home right now, so hopefully this will give you a little bit of diversion to your work from home lives. And so, yeah, here we go. So every week I have an agenda, and here we go. Let me just do this. Okay, there we go. Every week I have an agenda. And the way that I define culture, because everybody has different ways of examining it or thinking about it, is basically the collision between society and business. And through this collision, what is the molecules and the universe that's created through that on an emotional, on a visceral, and on an intellectual level. And when I'm looking at the world of ideas, I distill them into 4 buckets of change. I look at global and societal issues. I look at tech trends. I look at how consumers are constantly evolving, and I look at the workplace. And through the weaving through these buckets, I help provide a big picture point of view so that this can help you as both a business creative professional as well as a citizen of the world. So obviously we have a big theme that everything is funneling into, and it is about the coronavirus. And what I'm doing right now on a constant basis is studying the impact it's having on all of us and how it relates to all 4 of these buckets. And so I'm going to start with, well, I just talked about the opening context. Last week's theme was that we were at a crossroads, right? This has been a moment I've been talking about also in my newsletters of how we can think about where we are right now, where we were before, and where we can possibly go culturally in a very positive level moving forward, right? When I wrote my last cultural zeitguide, cultural almanac, the big theme was the world's on fire. Even before the coronavirus, there were protests around the world. I think I counted like 28. Hong Kong was the most prominent in the press. Climate change was at the acme of conversation. Sexual harassment in the workplace, inequality, etc. You name it. The world was just not a great place. And now it seems like it's a lot worse than it's ever been before. But how can we use this moment to step back and think about our lives and think about our place in the world? And it's quite challenging, even harder this week than I think it was last week. I've been talking about now, like, how can we be more humanistic? How can we reboot humanity? How can we think about that? How can we be healthier? How can we use this opportunity to get in shape, to eat great food, to meditate, to write our novel that we've always wanted to write, to really, and those of us who are really fighting for survival in our businesses, many of you in marketing and branding and media and retail who are really struggling right now. And when everybody is, doing Instagram about how fun they're having with their kids, there are people who tell me that they're working harder than ever before. So this moment is a fulcrum moment to really step back. And that was last week's theme on a big picture level. This week, okay, I'm going to be talking about other binary oppositions. What are the cultural paradoxes? Where are we here, or where could we go here? There are all these opposing forces, which I'm going to get to. Then we're going to be a little inspirational. Who is actually succeeding in this cultural and business zeitgeist that we're living in right now? And then last week I had DJ Peterson, who is the head of Longview Advisors, and he gave us a little bit of a geopolitical context of where we are, so that I know many of us are from the United States, but what is happening in the rest of the world. And this week I'm so excited to welcome a really dear friend of mine, a mentor, and kind of a legend in the business of marketing, communications, and media. I hope that he's on Zoom, but his name is Michael Nyman. Michael, are you there? Uh-oh.
I'm here. I'm here, Brett.
Oh, good. All right.
Thank you.
By the way, Michael, you like my shirt since you're living in LA?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when people used to fly.
And so, Michael, just a little bit of context, he was actually the founder of Bragman, Nyman, and Caffarelli, and this was the pinnacle of PR firms that represented like every celebrity. And then he merged with PMK, another PR firm that represents Hollywood stars, and IPG bought them, and Michael, you shepherded that deal and became the CEO and chairperson of PMK, right? And
Yes.
let me boast about you. So, and then now you just started a new company called Acceleration, which is really interesting. But Michael is in the business of marketing, communications, and media, which, unless you're Netflix, and Michael works more with brands, there are a lot of challenges right now in terms of how do you position yourself in a tasteful way, and what are you doing in terms of the landscape of commerce. So Michael, thanks so much. We're going to get to you. And Sherry, are you on the line? Sherry, my assistant?
I'm here.
Hi, Sherry. So Sherry has been our community organizer, and I said that this is a 45 to 50-minute class. I sometimes go over because I'm, always excited about what's happening in terms of what I'm learning and teaching. And so if you have any questions that you want asked at the end after the 50 minutes, and if you want to stay on, please email Sherry, SHERRIE, at zeitguide.com. If you look at the screen, this is how you spell Zeitguide. And also you can, if you could put in the subject line, Michael, because there could be you could actually ask Michael at the end any questions that you may have. Then we're going to go into some brands that are doing it right? And because I know many of you are in media, marketing, communications, entertainment, and retail, mainly consumer-facing brands and technology. We're going to talk about some inspiring brands. We're going to talk about inspiring tech. We're going to talk about some inspiring people. And then the biggest thing right now that I think is something we need to focus on for everybody is mental health. And I'm going to kind of go over some kind of fun thing. All right, so let's pop right into like the binary oppositions. So here we have, I wrote this piece in November and in our cultural almanac called "The Only Way to Save Society is About Rebooting Humanity," right? So if in the last decade, technology has been the rebooter of business, the disruptor of business, I said in the next decade, hopefully we'll be able to reboot what humanity means. And now that desire is really being tested. I'm just going to go through a couple things here. So, racism. There was a piece in the New York Times a couple days ago about how Chinese Americans fear their safety. They're being spit at, they're being yelled at, they're being criticized here in America. And our president, who calls it the Chinese virus, is not helping the situation either. Really devastating illumination of what's really happening. And what's interesting from the heartbeat of this piece that I listened to or read was that after September 11th, even George Bush asked us all to basically differentiate between Muslims and extremists, right? He was actually, whatever you thought of George Bush, he actually was trying to reboot humanity by saying that all Muslims aren't terrorists. Whereas this is a complete disparity to what's happening now with our president. And, you know, they actually link to a Wikipedia page. By the way, I'm going to give you all these links of what I'm going through, where they talk about several examples that have been highlighted in the press about, you know, the racism against Chinese Americans. Now, the Chinese are understanding this, and they, on the front page of their paper, China Daily, is really illuminating how they are at this point hailing or, you know, helping other nations in need. They are really trying to reboot the narrative of what's happening in our country and in terms of the rest of the world. Before I go any further, I just want to give you some tools as well, which I, you know, skipped over here, just so you can keep on top of everything as well. I find the New York Times one of the best pieces well, the New York Times basically giving us like the daily updates of everything that's happening. But if you really want to see the numbers, how they progress every so often, you should go to, this is my favorite site, the Johns Hopkins Coronavirus Resource Center. And what's so interesting to me right now is that look at the date of March 7th and where we were. This is the depressing stuff. We're going to get into more inspirational stuff. And this is where we are right now. Another tool that I think is interesting for all of us is Google Trends, which you can find out what people are searching for the most and how they are being compared to other memes and subjects and questions that people are asking. These are the top questions that people have been asking for the last week. The past day. And this is an interesting app that I found, which basically explains, or you can play with to see, that's not good, what states in the United States are best at social distancing. So this is a B. Let's go to New York here, which is having the most extreme cases that are happening right now. Well, anyway, doesn't seem to be working right now, but we're going to move on. And obviously there's a lot of depressing news. I talked about China helping the rest of the world. And here is a video of China right now where we actually see cars on the road, which is kind of cool. So let's go back to the binary oppositions, because I just wanted to talk about that. So humanity versus racism. Obviously, we have the truth versus the lies. The World Health Organization is saying what's worse than the coronavirus is what they're calling not the epidemic, but the infodemic of misinformation. And there is also a really good site that I found right here, which is by the Poitner Institute, where you basically can look at what is fake news and what is real news. So this is another tool as we continue to evolve on this information or infodemic narrative. The next binary opposition, I would say, is, and also, what our president says versus, what's true, what's not true. And a lot of that is the disparity or the polarity between the theory of lockdown paradox, which I'm calling the lockdown paradox, which is the states versus the federal cognition or opinion about what we should be doing, right? Obviously, our president wants to open during Easter and we all go to church and live happily ever after. And, eat a lot of Easter eggs and candy. But, you see Cuomo in New York, who is thinking about it in an opposite way. But you also see our country compared to like what's happening in the UK and what's happening in India right now. India basically, because they have 1.3 billion people in their country, is basically putting everybody on lockdown. And, Boris Johnson, the prime minister of the UK, has also done that. So you have like Trump versus Boris. And it's kind of interesting that he's doing what he's doing. I'm talking about our president, because he's always been like American first, right? This closing of the borders is the antithesis of globalization. And it's really strengthening this theme that we've been covering for so long of nationalism. Safety versus mental health. I'm calling this social distancing versus mental distancing. All right. So, we are supposed to be safe by social distancing ourselves, but look at all the mental illnesses and the loneliness that's happening. I think the New York Times, one op-ed writer called it the loneliness paradox. But mental distancing is basically a way to distance yourself from all the mental hardships that we've been experiencing. Like, get off of social media, stop watching headline news, watch entertainment that really inspires you, hang out with your family if they're not driving you crazy. That's mental distancing versus social distancing. The digital paradox has been a theme I've been talking about for the past few years. We've been seeing the tech companies, been calling it, I think other people have been calling it too, the tech lash, right? It was amazing. Amazon allowed us to do all this stuff. We could hang out with our friends on Facebook and Instagram. Google was great for search, yada, yada. But there has been a lot of tech lash, and that's why governments wanted to, especially Europe, wanted to regulate all these big tech behemoths. In fact, there are many thought leaders who are saying that these tech companies are just as bad as the big oil companies. And so now, we're thinking that Facebook and Instagram, that's bringing us all together, is basically more heroic than ever before. Amazon just hired 100,000 people. That's heroic. They're helping us get everything except Purell, but they are helping us survive as we move forward. And then my prognostication is that there could be another tech lash. Okay, so now that Amazon is doing all this, their power is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is actually a challenge to all these new direct-to-consumer product companies that have been succeeding, but now they're really struggling. And also, this is also helping Amazon gain the money to actually invest more in artificial intelligence, which will probably, limit the number of jobs, especially in blue-collar workers. Drug tests. Okay, so where are we right now? There we go. So there's a case study where, back in the 50s, there was a drug that was being tested to fight a disease. And it actually caused baby or fetuses that's okay. It actually, showed detrimental effects to fetuses. So if we're trying all these drugs, which is great, everybody's helping, blah, 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 are we kind of like at this, crossroads of actually helping everybody, or actually through drug test trials hurting everybody or other specific people? We obviously have the Wall Street versus Main Street duality, the AI automation versus humans. I just talked about this. This is actually could be a turning point for more AI and automation developments, as a lot of people aren't working. Work from home stress versus burnout at the workplace. Okay, people are not able to figure out how to work at home. But, remember when 95% of the people, according to Kronos, the HR firm, basically said that people quit their jobs because 95% of the people they surveyed quit their jobs because of burnout. So remember how, miserable many of us were before. And this could be a good time to reinstate our work values, which we're going to talk with Michael a little bit. As a brand, how do we sell? Should we not sell at this point? Climate change versus the quarantine. So I thought this was fascinating here's Los Angeles. Since we've all been in our homes, social distancing, look at the difference of the pollution in Los Angeles. So again, now that we're not flying as much anymore, we're also reducing the carbon footprint. So you see these, again, these opposites. Privacy versus surveillance. So we are here social distancing, having privacy, but we are actually all on our phones, right? And people are using our GPS data to actually show or know if we are social distancing or not. I was showing you this in this. How are they doing it? They're actually, taking away our privacy. The other thing that's really interesting about it is, look in China. They basically had drones, and I showed this clip last week, that would, observe everybody below them, especially in Wuhan, and would basically yell at people who weren't wearing facial masks or who were not containing themselves within their homes. Here's another new example of privacy versus surveillance. Modi, in India, in the chief minister of Goa, basically warned those who are found to be roaming on the streets, instead of just telling them to go back to their homes, they're actually going to put them in jail. So again, duality. We are private, but, and in China that everybody, when they get a cell phone, they have to take a photo of themselves and give it to the government. So again, that binary opposition. And I talked about the retail paradox, the big versus the direct to consumer. So that being said, we'll go to the next topic I wanted to talk about. Well, let's go back to retailers, the paradox there. So I already discussed that the direct to consumer products or companies that sell one product are struggling right now. And they have to pay a lot for shipment, returns, although that's not really happening as much. People are using Amazon more. But the other thing that's happening right now is that all these bigger brands, legacy brands, are actually have time right now to actually build their omni-channel strategies, which they never been actually good at before. Omni-channel is really having a brand connect to a person or a consumer on all levels, online, offline, on your phone, everywhere. So this is a good time for those retailers who aren't doing as well to actually step back and think about where they can be better in the supply chain. I already talked about that AI is an issue with that, but this is a good way to move forward in terms of innovation. The other way of thinking about innovation right now is that, if you are a brand, you could think of new products. Like, for example, companies like Clorox have an opportunity, this is a quote from this piece from eMarketer, have an opportunity to create new products post-virus. They could create personal gloves, special doorknobs and light switch wipes, or playground and gym equipment sprays. So if you look at the cultural zeitgeist right now, you have the chance to be even more innovative in terms of retail. I'm just going to quickly go through successes that are happening right now. Unfortunately, startups aren't doing right now. Oh, this is Amazon's retail. Startups aren't doing right now. Layoffs are accelerating across Silicon Valley. Here is the global seed funding projected to fall steeply. But the ones that are doing well right now are the ones that have hired 700,000 people to work for them right now. And if you just go through this article, you'll see that Instacart hired 300,000, Walmart, Amazon, CVS, Dollar General, Papa John's, 7-Eleven, Kroger's, doing well. The Guardian actually said, who another demographic of people are actually doing well right now, when many of us are actually either losing our jobs or being cut off from, you know, retainers, are lobbyists, right? All the industries, like the entertainment industry, who's not, the agencies aren't able to, you know, the productions are actually in halting right now. You know, every industry is lobbying to get part of the bailout. So lobbyists are doing pretty well right now. A big pandemic boost is marijuana sales. You know, that's a good example of something. In fact, Vice basically had an article about how there was a person who purchased 2 pounds of weed for $2,700 from a grower friend, in addition to the half pound he had been laying around the house. That's enough for more than 3,500 joints, a joint a day for 9.5 years. So yes, groceries, pharmaceuticals, probably liquor, and definitely marijuana. Gaming up 75%. Animal Crossing is supposed to be the really popular game right now. For those of you who are gamers or want to find some time to do stuff. And then Alibaba and Tencent, this is not loading right now, but they're actually showing business that you could actually be fine during the coronavirus might melt out. So now, with all this, so we have brands that are doing really well. They're connecting with consumers more on necessity versus just desire. And I want to shift this over before I give examples of brands that are doing right to Michael Nyman. Michael, are you there? Michael.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay, so we just went through the big picture, binary oppositions, where we're seeing these dualities.
Yeah.
I gave some tools. I gave some actual businesses and industries that are doing well right now. But there are many brands who are not doing well right now, right? Because of the situation. And it's because of the relationship with their consumer has been obviously thrown at their relationship. There was a dagger that was thrown into it to completely disrupt it during these times. And brands, as we know, have been great patrons of progression in politics. They've been people wanted brands that were purposeful. Okay, so that was context, and that's what you were so genius about leading up to this. And this was kind of like a maxim of acceleration, right? So yeah. My question to you is, we're all kind of struggling right now. We're all having some challenges. What's on your heart? What's in your heart, and what's on your mind? And what can we learn from you?
This, and I talked to my staff, the team about what's happening right now, and I classify it as I can't believe this is happening moment in our lives right now. You find yourself going, I'm sure everyone said, feels like I'm in a bad movie. It just doesn't seem possible. And I think what makes it so outrageously impactful and crazy and scary is that it's unique in that it's certainly in the largest of it. This whole idea that the global pandemic is literally rolling across nations like a tidal wave. And as Americans, we are just being emotionally walloped by this. And I was thinking, and I had this discussion with my wife where I said, I felt like this before emotionally. And she said, well, there's never been anything like this. And I was thinking that the sheer size and scale of it, there hasn't been. But emotionally, I was thinking as early as the 70s, when I was this young kid, 7, 8 years old, however old I was, being in line with my parents for hours to get gas and having this fear of what the future is going to be like. I remember watching the Iraq war broadcast live on CNN, the first war broadcast live, the 9/11. I remember that. The thought is everyone safe, and is this the end of the world as we know it? We're being attacked. I remember the market melting down. So I have all these memories sitting with me and rushing through me, and I realized that with each one of those moments in time, they were really defining cultural moments. And from that point forward, like the very next day, they spurred on changes in our behavior. Absolutely, positively. You look at every one of those things. Some of those were right away, like in the moments right after, and some of those took time to develop new processes, new standards, new norms took shape. And I think we're going to go through that. So as a human, it's heartbreaking, it's depressing. As a father, I worry about my parents, my in-laws, I worry about my children. As a marketer, as an employer, I worry about my employees. But it, really comes down to this idea that, we are resilient people, and we need to find a way to keep going. And we need to be strong enough to visualize that we will come out on the other side. It's like when you're sitting on an airplane and you hit bumps and you look outside and all you can see is, let's say, clouds. You have no visualization to make you feel comfortable. So we just need to take a deep breath here, and we need to know there's turbulent air, but we are going to find that calmness, and we will see the light, and we are going to get through on the other side. So for the brands right now, the brands that already possess strong purpose, values, culture, leadership, those are the brands that have the best chance to be hugely successful in the post-virus world. I think the brands that are overly product reliant, it's not a given for them, because I really believe in my heart of hearts, I've always believed this, that great brands outlast great products. We see it all the time now. You go on Instagram and you see a product and you might get excited, you might buy something, but there's a difference between a product, a SKU, and a brand. So the brands that have their purpose, as you were saying, Brad, that know why they do what they do, and who they serve, and how they want to go about conducting themselves, their culture, their way. Those are the ones that are really going to be successful. And I think we're seeing good examples of that. I know you'll be speaking to those brands, but I think everything is going to change. I was talking to someone the other day and they were saying, oh, look, Perel, because I said to this person, we're going to go on in a couple months from now, when we're out and about, we're going to have our phone and we're going to have a hand sanitizer in our pocket, and that will be the cultural norm. And we will go into retail environments, we'll go into restaurants, we'll go and do what we've always done. Believe me, I talked to my 23-year-old daughter who said, oh, when this is over, I am going out. So we will go back, and we are all cloistered, and we're aching to go back out and live life again, certainly in a safer way and with better behaviors, but we will do that. And so I was talking to my friend and I'm like, well, how do you like being Perel? Let me just leave this. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. So I guess your analysis is that if we're a brand and we're all going to be excited to, like, if we all have our jobs and, all that kind of stuff to connect and buy things, like, just step back. Like, what should brands do?
No, we need the brands need to find a way to find their sea legs. They need to be present. They need to be available. They need to remind consumers they're there. They need to work with their employees, with all of their stakeholders, in a tasteful way, in a consistent way, versus just disappearing, because it's just not healthy. You can sort of dim the light a little bit, but you never want to turn the light off. So you need, for the brands that already have healthy brands, whether it's the Anheuser-Busch's or the Pepsis of this world, or you saw Pernod Ricard and what they're doing. Those brands, Amazon, those brands that have a strong core value, and they will find a way to message that and to be there for their customers, and not to disconnect entirely. Somehow, some way, there needs to be an ongoing conversation, but it's very delicate right now, certainly. Very delicate.
All right, great. Thanks, Michael. There was one thing you wanted to say, is there?
About Perel. I just wanted to say that if you're Perel, and I think they're independent, they were one time owned by J&J, they're feeling really great, but what's going to happen is in 2 months, their sales are certainly going to be through the roof. Their market share, their revenue will be up, but rest assured, there'll be about 5 new brands that'll be in the business of hand sanitizer before the end of the year, and it will be a commoditized product. So everything Amazon is going to change. Amazon's super excited. They're hiring all these people. God bless them. We love that. Employ people. but then people are going online and they can't get their Amazon Prime. They can't get product for a month. They can't get their creature comfort. So what happens? People are looking to other retail to home deliver, or they might look at Amazon a little differently, like, okay, maybe they're a little less reliant. So there's good and bad, and there's lots of different experiences that are happening right now. It's just very turbulent. So it's gonna take a while to sort of settle back in this post-coronavirus world. So.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Michael. And again,
Yeah,
if we
thanks.
have time for questions, ask Michael away. But I'm going to kind of, build on all of that. So Gartner, the PR firm, the consulting firm, basically just came out with a piece about the do's and don'ts, because a lot of you have asked me, like, how should we really connect with our customers? And so they say that you should actually ask these 4 questions. Number 1, am I telling customers something different from other brands versus saying the same thing as everyone else? Number 2, am I telling customers something they don't already expect of my company or brand? Is the takeaway for customers conspicuous in the subject line and opening paragraph? And most importantly, is the takeaway attuned to the customer's needs right now? So for example, let's start with the subject line, right? Address the situation differently. So, when you're talking about and you're emailing them an email, your subject line should always be, yes, coronavirus or COVID-19, but what are you doing? Grubhub is supporting local restaurants and what did I just say? Right, sorry. Open Table basically saying we're supporting our restaurants during the coronavirus. There are other examples of, brands who are also talking, correctly or in the right way to their customers. In the body, you have to be clear about what the actions your brand is taking, right? So they have to be upfront and truthful about the negative impacts customers will feel immediately. You talked about Amazon, right? We should be getting an email from Amazon and saying, we're going through a tough time. We're here to serve you, but because of the situation, we can't deliver all the products that
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So, another example is Target. They sent out an email, with the subject line and was upfront in changing their policies, basically saying that, they are going to limit the purchases. And so they're letting you know before you go. So if you have a favorite brand and you are a brand, you should basically communicate this stuff in the body. Sephora basically let its customers know it is that that they should basically use beauty products in a way that they won't get contaminated, right? Brands need to do this to build trust, and they need to be transparent in how they are doing their part. And the other thing, Starbucks is a great example too. And here it is. And actually Starbucks basically promoted this on their website, but they have been telling people how the process of how they have been reopening stores in China. So yeah, that's what you should be doing. Lyft basically said they're doing everything they can do for their drivers. So that's a great way to communicate with your customer. Now I'm just going to go through some examples of brands that are doing it right within this cultural context. So I'm just going to bump right through these. All right, just so you know, positive images. And again, I also want you to also think about and step back, like some of these brands, even though they're not pushing their products on you, think about like what they're really hoping for as well. And I will mention that as we move forward. Okay, so I'm gonna go through this fast. Mayo Clinic, Amazon, they are creating, collaborated vaccine development platforms. Oracle is providing the White House with software to study unproven corona drugs. Again, big tech lashed the reversal. Cisco commits $225 million to battle the coronavirus, right? Leading tech's fight against the pandemic, right? But like step back, Cisco also owns WebMX or whatever it's called, the web thing. So, think about that in terms of like the subtext there. IBM, Ford, Fiat, Facebook is basically helping small businesses who we know are the most challenged. Mondelez, right, who actually has not been doing well at all. They have like Oreo. They're raising the wages by $2 per hour, and they're hiring 1,000 workers. We talked about, Michael, you just talked about all the hand sanitizer. Well, Diageo and Anheuser-Busch might be Purell's competitor at some point. Probably not. They're using their factories to do this, right?
Correct.
This was a fun one. There's an artisanal whiskey maker in Brooklyn who's making hand sanitizer. Talked about Starbucks. Airbnb, I think I mentioned this last week, but they are, giving full refunds to those who are booking places to spend time in. But however, the hosts are really pissed at them, whereas VRBO told renters to take a hike, and they're actually helping the hosts. WeWork tries to lure their workers back by giving $100 a day bonus, right? Think about that. Okay, great, come in, we'll give you a bonus. However, we know that WeWork is basically not doing so well, and actually they're suing SoftBank because SoftBank, the investor, is actually pulling out. Uber, okay, Dara has actually asked Trump to include drivers in economic stimulus. Like crazy. I mean, just a couple months ago, he was suing the state of California, who basically said that drivers who are gig economy workers, right, need to get paid with benefits as if they're full-time employees, right? And he said, absolutely not. Uber is a platform where we connect drivers with passengers. We don't own the cars. We don't own the passengers. We just take a cut. So he says they're not real employers. But now look what he's doing. Like, where's the hypocrisy? Look at the hypocrisy there, right?
Unintended consequences, yeah.
There you go. Here's some fun ones. Fashion designers are making masks. Kristen Siriano, Brandon Maxwell, and Prada.
Gucci too, I think.
Even TV doctors are donating their medical supplies. Dramas from The Resident and the Station 19 are donating their medical supplies. Netflix creates a $100 million fund to help displace film and TV workers, which, again, the subtext is they probably want everybody to work with them. But they're doing great. $100 million, I'm not, anyway. Bottega Veneta actually launches a virtual laboratory for creativity. Netflix, everybody was devastated that they canceled One Day at a Time, right? And now they're actually bringing it back. Now, they do have a paucity of content now that everybody's streaming everything. So they put the kibosh on the continuation of production, but, there's that subtext. And I just wanted to show this. Poor brand, Mint Mobile. Look what they were about to release.
Wireless for $15 a month. That's not right.
It's right, all right. Finger dipping? That's not right.
That dip look good.
Oh, that does look good.
You gotta try this. That's so good.
That's not right.
Neither is the way you get wireless. Mint Mobile took what's wrong with wireless and made it right. We're easy, online, and just $15 a month. Get your plan today at mintmobile.com.
Wireless for $15 a month.
So I guess now we're playing the thumbs up, thumbs down game of brands that are doing it right. So here's an interesting one. Here's a guy who was a copywriter who basically was feeling inspired and creative and created this Guinness ad, right? And I don't know if you could see it that well, but it's a couch with Guinness and then it says stay at home right there. And got a lot of, people loved it. But the truth is that Guinness didn't actually make it. IKEA is doing a campaign, right? Of course, they want us to all buy furniture and stuff for our home right now. But I don't know. I think this is a little bit tasteful. We can turn everything around. Here are some brands who are altering their logos for social distancing. So we don't have Miss Chiquita here anymore. I don't think Miss Chiquita is probably culturally relevant anyway right now in our world. But Miss Chiquita and Chiquita aren't together. Coca-Cola and Mucinex. Spread facts, not fear. It's currently unknown if coronavirus is affected by the weather. So I thought that was sweet. But there was this piece that Faroud Manjoo, the opinion columnist of the New York Times, basically said that, you know, we can't really rely on our corporations to rush in and fill the competence void of our government. Nothing like this. You have Tesla, you have SpaceX, you have Amazon, Blue Origin. They might all help, but if our government doesn't do anything, then we're all screwed. All right, and then I'm just gonna close for the last couple times, last few minutes, and then we could open it up to questions about some of the fun things that talented celebrities and people are doing all across Wi-Fi, and I mean all across the internet. And Neil Diamond, basically, we're having some trouble with the video here, sang instead of Sweet Caroline, Sweet Quarantine.
Dude, have you heard about the coronavirus? Yeah, it's hysteria, miseducation, racism. Nobody understands how to cough right.
It's so hot right now. Let's go to China and shoot a video.
What the hell are you talking
Dude,
about?
let's go. Everyone's going the other way.
I think you need to pump the brakes, Tom.
Tickets are going to be so cheap, my bro. They're so cheap.
Ooh, my little Wuhan one, viral one. Come and decongest my lungs. Ay, corona, zoonotic transmission. Where's it from? That's a civet cats who knows why.
But you're seeing this inspiration of creativity. In fact, Jane Rosenthal, who is Robert De Niro's partner at Tribeca Films, basically said that they created the Tribeca Film Festival after 9/11, and look where it is today. Unfortunately, because of coronavirus, we can't go to the festival, but you know, this moment could really inspire such amazing creativity. Here's another one. We know about this. And based on that, Diplo, the EDM person, is going to start, EDM band is basically going to do a Corona World Tour. This is a great site I saw. That's actually not the one. So Oddly Satisfying is a TikTok. Remember, we've been talking about TikTok forever in culture class and the evolution of it. But people are doing some really fun, creative things called Oddly Satisfying. Their point is to share those videos that make you feel like everything is perfect in the world, even though they're not. Sure why. I think this one's really fun.
I feel like this is a bad idea because of like fumes or something. But I saw it on the internet, so here I am doing it because I saw it on the like a dingus. I feel like this is a bad idea because of like fumes or.
So again, you know, a great, great creativity that's really being shared all over our digital world right now. Now, in terms of what's not so good socially, is that if we learn from China, well, dating is much more complicated. Although I actually have met somebody that I actually started dating before, or just getting to know. We're actually getting to know each other, and who knows, maybe it'll be my husband. So I'm really enjoying that, although we can't see if there's any chemistry, but our chemistry is being elevated through digital transmission. And no, we're not doing any, you know, FaceTime, whatever you think there's going. And then, but on the opposite end, be careful because big cities in China, divorce filings are pouring in after the quarantine. And back to mental health, there are so many different articles that are showing you like what you should do, meditate, take walks, have different rooms for working. But this is a really inspiring article from Scott Kelly, the astronaut, who basically was sequestered in a rocket ship for, whenever, for periods of time. And his advice to all of us is to follow a schedule, pace yourself, go outside, you need a hobby, keep a journal, take time to connect. And he actually was able to do that. And so Apollo 13, they was able to create a transmission of conversation. Listen to your experts, right? If you are confused, listen to the experts, don't listen to fake news or our president. And just know that we are all connected. And he was able to see that from outer space. So out of all the things, I thought this was the most interesting. And I think that's it. Oh, okay. And about your kids, tell them it's okay to feel scared. That's all. And love them. So that's my spiel. Is there any questions? Sherry, you there?
Yes, there was one question. This is for Michael from Susan. She was asking, are any clients now working on anything related to coronavirus? And are there lessons to be learned from his own work and experience?
Well, first off, we do have some clients that are working on stuff, but I can't talk about it. I can't. It's but certainly sensitive, tasteful, and trying to speak to not just their audience, but certainly how we're all living today. So hopefully contextually right, contextually appropriate. In terms of lessons learned, Scott Kelly's piece, very appropriate. We started a couple weeks ago
Michael.
Phone calendar. We have, can you hear me okay?
It cut out for a little.
Okay. We have a calendar that everyone has, so you can see who's speaking to whom when. And so we have different groups. And then we started a twice a week newsletter called a Community Connected, or a Connected Community, sorry, where we're putting lifestyle thoughts down. So it's sort of, you're sitting in your home, how do you exercise? How do you find peace? What's interesting to you in terms of binge watching? So we're trying to get that balance between lifestyle and being productive. But I'm a big believer in the whole notion around schedule. I've asked everyone to try and stay in a rhythm with their schedule and to keep connected. And I'm really proud of everyone. And I'm doing my level best. I'm texting people sort of at night at the end of a day to just say, I'm just doing a mental health check and how you doing, and appreciate everything you're doing. And just trying to give people sort of those virtual pats on the back and to stay connected. There's some people, you think about it, we're all thinking about our own experiences and who we can connect with, our family maybe that lives a distance away. I have a family living in one house. My son is literally quarantined because he came in from Sydney, Australia. So he's taken over a room. So I, at the end of the day, talk to him from a distance away. If there's adjustment, there are people who are living alone in apartments though, a lot in New York City, and that's really rough. So we all need to do our best to
So Michael, you're talking more about your customers than actually brands connecting.
Clients as well as our own employees. I mean, we're at the end of the day, we're all human. So I've said to everyone, stay close to your clients and their people. So just know that they're scared and they need to lean into you, and we need to be there for them.
And even more important, your employees, right? I said last week that like employers are actually looking at their employers as the ones that should give them truthful and inspiring information.
Yeah.
So, a couple things that because I'm seeing that people are putting stuff in chat, which I love. So I just want to say a couple things and I'll ask the questions. So in terms of other brands, I forgot to mention Hertz, which is using their cars to ship medical give it to medical workers,
Yes.
like that.
That will cut into Uber, Brad, just so you know. Like, this is an opportunity now where, again, certain people who would say, oh, I'm going to do Uber or Lyft when I'm going from New York to LA, imagine 4 months from now, they might say, you know what, I'll rent a car. Trust me.
Right, but it has to be easy and seamless. But now they have time to work on it, right?
Yes.
Right. So Tesla made 1,000 respirators. Thanks, Leanne Daly. Thanks, Karina. I hope I'm not butchering this. Abramova. I hope. If you're there, you could correct me. Bacardi committed $3 million to support workers in the bar and restaurant industry. Oh, Andrew Borak just corrected me. One Day at a Time is on Pop TV, not Netflix. Okay, I take that back. Nicole Pace received a notification for production of branded bottles of hand sanitizers. Craig Young, yes, I agree with you. Susan, well, we just asked that question. Nicole Pace just let us know that DJ D Nice, who did the 100,000 people, teamed up with Michelle Obama for a voting promo tonight. And Levi's has an Instagram live at 5:01 p.m. with celebrities. Why 5:01? But that's irrelevant.
501 Jeans.
Oh, thank you. It says 5:01 p.m. there.
They're an old client.
Oh,
501 Jeans. Yeah, you got to be old to know that one.
I love it. So, by the way, the person who just talked about the hand sanitizer, I'm in Connecticut right now, and I saw a distillery. I told you the distillery in Brooklyn, but they're saying come to the distillery to get the hand sanitizer. So is that cool? That they're asking you to go to the distillery to get the hand sanitizer, so you could also buy some whiskey. Right. And also I saw a pizza brand basically delivering a pizza with a couple rolls of toilet paper. So again, thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay, so
they're doing that in LA too. The restaurant with the toilet paper. What? I said in the Pacific, on the west side in LA, there was a nice restaurant that was, you ordered food and they gave you a roll of toilet paper.
Okay. You know. But you had to go there, or they got it delivered?
Well, you pick it up.
Right.
And I think we're all seeing that the restaurants are doing their best to accommodate how they do that.
Right. Okay. We should probably donate toilet paper to them so they could use it to give out some food. So, they could not spend money on anything else that they need to. So Karen asked a question. And by the way, I'll just keep going on if you want to stay. Are there any notable trends you're seeing in terms of media consumption, podcasts, linear TV, OTT, website? You want to take that, Michael, and then I'll...
Yeah. I think you're going to see, I don't have the data points, Brad. You may very well have them, but I think you're going to see a lot around mindfulness and peace. I'm sure there's more people looking at Deepak Chopra right now. More around the meditative websites or apps, a lot of home gym equipment, and brands like, this is top of mind. I don't work with them, but brands like TRX. I'm sure people are ordering a lot in-house to accommodate this new, hopefully very temporary lifestyle we have. But I think media is being consumed. I heard the other day from a movie studio or television studio that they really do need to get back into production. But we'll get to a point where there's not going to be a lot of fresh new programming out there.
Right. And that's challenging.
So certainly we know that it's challenging. Yeah, but the streamers are certainly enjoying their...
For the new OTT platforms, right? Like Peacock, which is the NBC Universal. It's also going to be for Warner Media. That's going to be out in April. And Quibi, which is Jeffrey Katzenberg and Mike Whitman's new thing, right? Michael, I think you're frozen. So everybody, I actually said this last week, where there are 8 apps to manage stress. That was written in the Hollywood Reporter. If you need to, Dan Harris has his 10% Happier. I love this cognitive behavioral therapy app called Bloom. And
Sure.
I'm putting you on mute, Michael. And, you know, I actually, you know, told the Hollywood Reporter that this is a great one. And, you know, basically each week they have a theme like reducing stress, anxiety, loneliness, and self-love or joy. And it gives you like a daily exercise to do that. Calms, meditation. George Takei has one. Helium is actually interesting because it's offering a virtual reality platform that is powered by brainwaves. And there's one called state breathing that helps you breathe. And then unplugging, but I guess that's not something that we can do right now. And then this is an expensive one, but Sam Harris, who's a neuroscientist, I actually have known him for a while, really interesting guy. If you don't know him, he has a great podcast, and he does 10-minute guided meditations and mindfulness. So there's some mental health apps for everybody. I see there's a lot of questions. Again, I'm happy to stay on. These aren't questions, these are opinions. All right, I'll see. I think we're good. Oh, so the media business, OTT, I'll answer that because many of my clients are in media. And yeah, I mean, everybody's watching Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus is rising in cultural popularity. It's great for the kids, YouTube. But again, is there going to be a paucity of content now that everybody's going to be watching everything? And this Pop TV thing that, thanks to Andrew Borak, who just illuminated this for me, you know, could be other, you know, streaming platforms that we might know about. I think there's like 55 OTT streaming platforms. I think the Criterion, you know, the Criterion Collection has a streaming platform. And there are several. In fact, I have a list of all of them. I'll put them in the email that I send to you as well. So thank you very much. I hope you got a little bit of inspiration and knowledge to help you move forward in this dreadful situation that we're in. And next week, I'm going to host another. And if you want to be part of the smaller versions of Culture Class, which I've been doing for a while, you know, I do them every week. They're smaller, so it could be more interactive. They're like groups of 15, and I have several of them. Right now, I have one that's open on Tuesday, and Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But I'm going to keep on doing this Wednesday one for free because what I hope for everybody is that, you know, we stay sane and inspired and hopeful during this crisis. And if there's anything I could do to help us all get there, I hope I can do that. So love you all, and I'll see you next week. And I'll also be sending the video. So to all of you, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Brad.
Bye.